there's something I want to add to this as well, especially if there's anyone out there watching this and they have a romantic interest of theirs or partner that you're thinking about specifically, or you've gone through a breakup, you've been rejected, especially if you're facing rejection, and you have some type of fear around that. I want to kind of bring this up to your attention because this is something I also am personally looking into a little bit more, is that we don't want to fall into the trap of tunnel visioning ourselves and barraging ourselves with a bunch of questions. Like, questions are great, but like we just end up in this endless tunnel, right? When sometimes things can be simple. Like, I personally love to zoom in and out as much as I can and understand the deeper things, the deeper meanings, and understand them. I love looking at the mechanics, to be honest. I really love looking at the mechanics of how things operate. And people get the shits with me when I try to look at the mechanics. And I but the thing is, I'm following this one guy at the moment, and he's like, there's a book from the 80s, the 1980s, called He's Just Not That Into You. It's a book that I probably will read down the track, and it really is just that simple. It's not that the other person is an avoidant or anxious attachment style. It's not the other person is, borderline personality disorder. It's not that the other person's narcissistic. All this stuff that we kind of tunnel vision ourselves in, and we kind of go down that rabbit hole. There is some validity to be found in the rabbit hole, maybe, but it's potentially the wrong rabbit hole as well. And this is kind of dangerous, so we have to kind of zoom out into a more third-party perspective a little bit more, and just be a bit more normal, sort of take things a little bit more at face value. Sometimes we do, that's all we do. We just take things at face value and get stumped by that because we fail to zoom in. But then sometimes people like me, we might zoom in so much that we kind of fail to take a step back and zoom out a bit more. So we kind of have to find that nice balance, maybe even a slight step forward and a step back from both things to get both perspectives. And so as you can see, this is nothing specific about overcoming the challenges of a stonewalling sister, but just more in general with any type of romantic partner and even a family member. Yeah, we just don't want to tunnel vision ourselves. And we're just looking at this book, for example. He's Just Not That Into You. Which basically means all that stuff, those rabbit holes, it was just all kind of wrong. It wasn't in your favor. It kind of worked against you, actually, when the solution or the answer was almost in front of you. And something important about this I want to touch on. Even last night, I was reading content on how to create emotional safety, and the best way to create emotional safety, doesn't matter what type of situation you're dealing with, is to remove FAE bias, the fundamental attribution error. You should look that up, FAE bias, as much as you can, learn about that, and really reflect on how you may have actually committed FAE bias without realizing it. And usually it happens like that. It's like a spark that just triggers and it explodes disproportionately. FAE bias is fairly toxic, and we don't even realize that we're doing it sometimes, or a lot of the time. So look into that. But in regards to creating emotional safety, overcoming FAE bias and all this sort of stuff, let's say you're in a marriage, the marriage is breaking down, or you have a romantic interest and she's not into you or whatever. The real problem isn't that they're depressed or that they have problems, that they have issues. The real problem is that they don't want to go through with those issues with you. So let's say you're depressed. This isn't necessarily the reason why you leave a relationship or why you reject someone, just because you're depressed, or insert underlying underscore with any other problem. Just because you're depressed, just because you're having episodes, postpartum depression, I don't know what it is you're going through, right? Just because you're going through that, whatever it is, you can still do that with or without someone. And so it's the with you part that I want to bring your attention to. Do they want to be depressed with you or not with you? Because if it's not with you, then there's a problem there. Why don't they want to go through with it with you? Often I think the reason is maybe some type of a deep emotional safety. But otherwise, yeah, you have to create this open space where the person will want to go through their problems with you. I have a very disgusting and disturbing analogy that you will not like to hear. You will want to throw up. Even I want to throw up just thinking about it. It's very extreme. Imagine you wanted to have if you're a young son and you wanted to have a sexual relationship with your father, which is just disturbing, okay? Or if you're the daughter and you wanted to have a sexual relationship with your mother. Very disturbing. Very disturbing. Don't take this the wrong way, though. The idea behind this analogy is, what would it literally take for one or both of those parties to come to that agreement where they want to go through those challenges together in this way? And same with a murderer. Here's another extreme example. A murderer. What would compel you to want to commit murder, essentially? Like, most people are not like that, but it's the extremity of this idea that might kind of push you forward a little bit to kind of think about it a bit more. It's like, what actually compels that person to just do that, to go through depression with you, or not go through depression with you? I wish I could come up with another example other than depression, but that's the one I literally read about last night. And I was also watching a video this morning by this woman who was very self-reflective. She went through her own divorce and stuff like this, and she was one of the very rarest people I've ever seen who was not bitter about it. She was very self-aware about how she was feeling, and she wanted to save the marriage for a long time. And what was interesting is she found that the husband never took the initiative, ever. And I find this interesting, because he literally never took the initiative. She felt like she was dragging him along for the ride the whole time. And so sometimes small things like this can weigh down on another person significantly. So of course she wants the divorce in the end, because she felt like he was never taking the initiative. He was content being stagnant. He was content being complacent in life. And she wanted to grow. She even wanted him to come to grow with her. But because he never took that initiative, she started to feel more alone. And because of all this, over time, throughout a year and a half, she kept on having these thoughts spiraling through her head, right? And then eventually one day she wakes up and she's like, I'm over this. Because the other party hasn't changed, I've literally tried to initiate change. I can't keep living like this forever. To me personally, I don't know if that's the right way to go about things, but that's just the mechanics behind what was going through her head. What sparked it? What did it look like? Why did that happen? And so, yeah, don't be freaked out by those really weird analogies that I came up with, but just the idea is to literally figure out, like, what the hell compels someone to do something with you. If you want to commit murder with someone, not suggesting that, hell no. It's like, if you had to come along for that ride, what would compel you to do that? And so if you think about it in this way, if someone had to go through their depression with you, what would compel them to go through the depression with you? Versus not going through the depression and their problems and the issues with you. Because that's all relationships are. Relationships are just choosing your problems. Everyone has issues. Everyone has problems. I myself am not perfect. I have issues. I have problems. Sometimes I might have a bit of an ego and get defensive a little bit and justify myself. I'm still reflecting on that, because it's an area that I just need to observe a little bit more. But with every single person you see, they've all got issues. And in the end, you've got to figure out what compels someone to want to go through the issues with you. I personally know someone who has significant issues, and somehow I find myself being drawn to that person. And I'm like, what compels me to be so drawn to this person? What compels this person to, at this moment, not yet, feel the same way, etc.? What is that driving force behind the whole thing?